Hello everyone, today we are going to solve LeetCode question number 3752, which is a lexicographically smallest negative permutation that sums to target. This question came into the biweekly contest 170 and it's a third question. So let's solve this question. First read this question. Okay. This question marked as a medium. Uh, you are given a positive integer n and an integer target. Okay. Return the lexicographically smallest array of integers of size n such that we have two condition: the sum of all elements equal to the target. Okay, the absolute value of its element from a permutation of size n. Okay, I hope you understand what is the permutations. Okay, and then no such array exists, return an empty array. A permutation of size n rearrange of integer 1 to till the n. So before jump into the questions example, first we understand what is this lexicographically smallest and what is this permutation means. The lexicographically smallest means, let's suppose we have a number, let's suppose we have a number 2, let's suppose we have a number 2 4 1 5. Okay, so what is the lexicographically order? The lexicographically which comes first? So here 1 is the smallest. You can clearly see 1 is the small. 1 is for come first, then 2, then 4, then 5. So what is our lexicographically order? Is 1, 2, 4, and 5. So this is our lexicographically order. I hope you understand what is the mean of the lexicographical order. The same thing applies on the character as well, like A, B, C, and D. So let's jump to the second part, which is a permutation. So to understand permutation better, I will show you these two images. I get these images from Geeks for Geeks. So let's suppose we have a two number. First one is 0 and second one is a 1. Okay, so what how many times we can arrange this thing? First one, red hat come first, then green hat second, then second one is a green first and then red comes the second. Let's take another example. Here we have three types of ball. One is basket, one is football, then a bowling ball. Okay, so how many times we can rearrange this thing? You can see you can arrange 6 times. Okay, so what is permutation says, this is like this one is not is equal to this one. Okay, so how you find the permutation of any number? You can easily see here, this is a, we can use n factorial to find the permutation. If we have to find the permutation of 3, what is the permutation of 3? 3, 2 and 1. You can see 3 into 2 into 1, that comes to the 6. If you want to find the permutation of 2, what is that? 2 into 1 is equal to 2. Let's suppose we have to find the permutation of 5. What is the permutation of 5? Is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay, so this thing become our the permutation of 5. Okay, I mean that means the resulting thing, like suppose it's result on around 120. Okay, so the factorial of 5 is become the permutation of that number. Okay, so hope you understand what is the permutation of a number and the lexicographically the smallest number. Then okay, let's jump to the example part. So here they give us a n is equal to 3 and the target is 0. What is the output? Minus 3, 1 and 2. First what they are saying is the sum of this array should be equal to this, okay, target. Let's check. Minus 3 plus 1 and plus 2, of course its sum is equal to 0. This is match. Then also they also mention that the length of this array should be equal to this n. You can clearly see the length of this array is equal to 3. Then what we can return? If we permutate this thing, we can find this number of, we can say you can find this number of combination of this number. Okay, 3 minus 3 1 2, we can find this number of combination if you want to permutate. But why we choose minus 3 1 and 2 as an answer? If you can, I already told you we have to return the lexicographically the smallest number. So if you come here, if you check each and every example here, you can clearly see that this minus 3 1 and 2 is the smallest. Why? Because minus 3 is our the smallest number in this, that come first, then 11, then 1, then 2. If you pick this one, this is not a lexicographically number because minus 3, then 2 and 1 is smaller than 2, so 1 comes first. That's why this thing minus 3 and 1 2 is becomes our answer. Okay, I hope you understand the question. Let's jump to the solution part. How are you gonna solve this thing? Okay, so before we have to solve this thing, we have to tackle one by one each and everything. So first, what we have to pick, we have to pick an array which length of n. Okay, and if you read question carefully, the question give the answer. You can see they are saying the permutation of the size n. Okay, so let's suppose and they give the n. Okay, they give the n is equal to 3. So we have to create an array which the size of n, and also their absolute value is create the permutation of create the permutation of this 3. Okay, so what is the, we can say, permutation of 3? I mean, you know, the factorial of 3 is equal to, if you do the factorial of 3, so what we get, we get 3 into 2 into 1. So what we have to pick, we have to pick 1 2 3. So all the absolute value of these 3 elements should be these things, okay, comes with this. So they give us the answer. We have to, because you can clearly see, if the n is equal to, if the n is equal to, let's suppose 5, so what is the factorial of 5? You know, 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. We can't choose anything, we can't choose a 6 in array, because 6 cannot become out the factorial number of this thing. Okay, I hope you understand why we choose this thing. I already told you, I already explained you this thing, what is the permutation here. You can clearly see how many, if you have two number, how many combination we can generate. We can combination 2, can see. If you have a 3 element, how many combination we can generate. We can generate 6 number of combination. So how we find this thing? We find by factorial of thing. This is the formula. If we want to find the, how many permutation we can generate of n number, we have to find the factorial of n number. Okay, so we can get this thing 6. Okay, so I hope understand this question gives the answer. Okay, so the n is equal to 3. So this always 1 2 and 3, this 3 number our becomes the elements which we are going to use to use to combine and make the sum is equal to target. Okay, I hope you understand what we are going to. If you don't understand, just you just use pen and paper and try by yourself. You can easily understand why this thing come here. Well, let's jump to the next part. This thing might become a little bit confusion, but it is not that confused. It's very easy. So we, first thing we know that the number of n is equal to the factorial of 3. We have to pick factorial of 1. So here we have to pick that number of array, and we're going to pick the factorial of those number 1 2 and 3. Okay, so in the next part, what we have to do, we have a target given. Okay, the target is here is 0. Okay, so we have to arrange this number, and we have to make this number somehow that sum is equal to become is 0. Okay, so what you're going to do, we can make this minus 1 and minus 2, then it's become a 0, minus 1 minus 2 3, and then 6 is 0. Then after we can also make these 3 minus, that's also become our target. So you can clearly see we can use either 1, and we can minus 1 and 2, or either 3. But why we choose this choose minus 3? You can clearly see they are saying us to return the lexicographically smallest number. Okay, let's suppose we come here. Okay, let's suppose we choose minus 1, minus 2, and then 3. This is also the equal to 0. We can clearly see, and we have another thing we can do. This is minus 3, then 1, then 2. Okay, this is also is 0. To tell me, just you tell me which is our the smallest number, which is smallest, is this one and or this one? Tell me. Okay, I just want to ask you. Let me know in this comment. Okay, what's your answer by the so you can clearly see, if we put minus 1 and minus 2, then what we have, this is minus 1 comes first, because this is this form our lexicographically order, minus 1, then minus 2, then 3. If you put minus 3 here, then it's come minus 3, then 1, then 2, small. It's a sorting order, you have understand. But you can see here, if we choose minus 3 as answer, because if we negative the largest number, then it's becomes our the smallest number also. I hope you understand. If we pick the largest number of this array and we make them negative, if we able to make them negative, then it's also become the smallest one, and we have to choose those number first, which is this which is the smallest in this array. Okay, I hope you understand why we choose minus 3 instead of minus 1 and 2. Okay, so let's jump to the next part, how we're going to solve this, what the next thing will come in our mind. So you can clearly see we choose the minus 3, then 1 and 2. So how are we going to find this thing? It's the question is already solved pretty much here. We can clearly make this thing over here. What you're going to do is, okay, one thing I forget to tell you about that, if we didn't find any number, we have to return the empty array. So let's jump to this edge cases, how we going to return this empty array. Okay, so let's take an example of here. What you're going to do is, let's take same example, n is equal to 3. Okay, and our target is value is not 0, it's a 5. Let's suppose it's our target is 5. Okay, let's go with the original one. Our target is 0. Okay, let's make this 0. Yeah, so if we come to the permutation thing, what is the first, we generate the array, we generate the array. What is the array? Is going to be 1 2 and then 3. What are the sum? This is all the factorial number of these 3. Okay, and why we choose here, we all talk about this earlier, why we choose 1, 2 and 3 specifically, or why we cannot choose any other number like 4, 5 or any other things. Okay, so we pick 1, 2, 3. Let's sum all of this. So we get 6. Okay, we get the 6 number. So all sum of this array is equal to 6. Okay, so how we convert this into a 0? We have to minus, we have to convert each element minus, and we already told about already discussed about this. We have to first minus the biggest number, that's become our the smallest number in this array, and that's why we become we gonna return this lexically smallest number in this array. Okay, so first we're gonna minus this 3. So what happen if we minus this 3? So the array should look like minus 3, 1 and 2. What gonna happen? It's going to be 2 plus is equal to 0. Okay, so how you going to calculate this? We have the total sum, then minus. What number we're going to minus? It's a 3. It's a 3. We're going to make this positive to negative number. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick the 3 into 2. You might think, why we into 2? So 6 is equal to what? 6 is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus and 3. Okay, so we have to make this 3 is equal to minus. Okay, the first we have to subtract this thing in a 6. So 6 minus 3 is equal to 3, which is equal to equal to 1 plus 2. Then we also, so we subtract this thing, like we have to minus this thing na. So what we're going to do this, we use the minus 3. So you're gonna, that's equal to 0. So you're gonna see this, we have to minus 3 2 times. First minus 3 to remove 3 from the sum, and then second minus to become this positive 3 to negative 3. That comes to our answer. Let's jump to the another test case here. Let's suppose if your target is equal to 5. Let's suppose our target is 5. Okay, so if our target is 5 and number is 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so we can the sum is equal to 6. If we cannot convert this into a 5 at any cost. Okay, at any cost. Okay, so do you know why we cannot make this 5? We can do, if we take the 1 minus 1, what we have to do is we have to do 6 minus 2 into 2 is equal to, sorry, not 2 into 2, it's a 1 into 2, 1 into 2, because we are picking smallest one. That's become 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. We cannot make this. If you minus the smallest one, we didn't make the 5. So here comes the second part. How we gonna find, we return the empty array? We only return the empty array if this number, if our total sum, if we, let's suppose we have a 6 and we have convert into a 5. Okay, so how much different is this? It's a 1. 1 is a odd number. 1 is a odd number. We cannot come to the 1. We cannot subtract 1, because we, whatever number we convert into the minus, we have to multiply by 2. Why we have to multiply by 2? I already told you. First one, to remove the sum, we have to minus this 3, that number. Then if you want to convert this minus, then again minus that. That means n into 2. The number what we have taken into 2. So whatever the number we want to subtract, whatever the number we want to make, that it should be, the difference is equal to a even number. Like if you go back to our previous example, we have a 0. Okay, and whatever the sum is, sum is 6. What number we have to subtract in this total array? We have to subtract 6. So 6 is an even number. 6 is an even number. So if the number is even, then we are able to reach our answer. If the number is odd, we cannot make the answer, because we are always multiply that number into 2. If either we pick 1, 2 and 3, whatever the target is, if the difference between the sum and target is equal to odd, we cannot convert this, because we always multiply by 2. Why we multiply by 2? I already told you. If we have a 1, 2 and 3, we plus, what we get 6. We want to make 1 as a minus. So what we have to do, we have to first minus the 1. So we can get the only value of plus 2 and 3, which is 5. Okay, then we have to convert this minus 1. To convert this minus 1, we have to again minus 1. That is equal to 1 into 2. If you minus the 1 into 2, that's become the minus 1. If you want to minus 2, then 2 into 2. If you want to minus 3, then 6 minus 3 into 2. So that comes to the point. So that's how we are gonna return the empty array. If we so in this thing we can learn how we can return the empty array. Man, that means we cannot make that target possible by those numbers. Okay, one more another thing that it's not possible, because let's suppose the target is so big. I hope you understand why. Let's suppose instead of your target is 8, we cannot make it, we already have 6. If we make all number positive, we can and add them, then we have maximum number we can achieve is 8, is 8. That's also that also comes for the also apply for the negative number. Okay, let's suppose our the negative number is -7. Okay, if we convert all the number is minus, the maximum negative number we can achieve is -6, which is smaller than 7. We cannot achieve the -7 by this number. So we have the three condition, we have a three condition. First one our the positive number, the positive number of sum should be greater than the target. Okay, then our the negative number of the sum, yani ki minus sum, should be smaller than target. Okay, should be smaller than target. Okay, and the third one I already told you, that the difference between the target minus sum should be equal to even number. Okay, these three things apply, then we can able to answer those questions. If you don't understand, I suggest you to go back the video, and if you don't understand that way, then you can just calculate these three things by your pen and paper, so you can understand easily. So that's it from our side. I mean, that's the thing we required in this to solve this question. Let's jump to the coding part. So here is our coding. I code in Java language. You can, if you don't use the Java, you can easily understand what we are doing here. So first we are creating the array which we are going to return at the end. So we are going to create the sum. You can here what is the sum? Either we can add sum plus is equal to I is equal to 1 here, but here is the formula to calculate the sum of all the factorial of n, which is the n is to n plus 1 divided by 2. I hope you know this. If you don't know, it's not a big deal. You can try run by yourself how I come to this thing, and you can search for Google. You can clearly understand. Or if you don't need to take headache of this, you can just add one by one, because we are using for loop here. Okay, so we have to assign the value first we have to assign the factorial of n. So we know if we want to factorial of 3, what is 1 is to 2 is to 3. Okay, so we have to take 1 till 3. Okay, and we assign array of 0 is equal to 1, array of 2 array of index 1 is equal to 2, array of index 2 is equal to 3. So we assign all the factorial numbers to this array. Okay, then let's jump to this part where we have to return the empty array. I already told we have a three condition. The sum, I combine this thing in one. Our sum should be smaller than absolute value of greater target. If you come to the here, and if you check here, I just combine these two things in this one here, this one single logic. Absolute value of target, either is plus and minus, it should be greater than sum. Then we are able to subtract them. Okay. So we discussed earlier that if sum is bigger, then we can subtract them, or that sum is equal to become target. So here, if the target is too big of the sum, then we have to return the empty array, because we cannot convert this bigger number. I already explained you this. Then we are calculating the difference is equal to odd and even. If the difference is odd, then we have to return the empty array. If the target is greater than sum, either it's positive value or negative value is greater than sum, then we cannot make this thing. So here is the logic to return the empty array. And then jump to the next part. Here we have the requirement. A requirement is sum minus target. Okay, so if you come to our board, so what we have, we have to achieve 0. Okay, we have to achieve 0, and what are the sum is 6. Okay, so we have to subtract we have to achieve the number. How we going to achieve this? Sum minus target. So we have to what we get, the required number to have remove in this array. Okay, hope you understand this thing. Then we have to jump iterate through the last index. Why we are last? Because we try to convert the negative we're gonna try to convert the negative number, which is the largest in the array. Okay, so the last one is our largest number. Okay, so we're gonna check if that is to 2. If required minus array of I is to 2 is equal to 0, that means we got our answer. We subtract all the number. So what you gonna we gonna minus that number, and we also convert that number into a negative number. And if you make this requirement is equal to 0, then we can break that array. if you don't want to requirement here is 0, so we can, what we're going to do is we can try to make this sum is equal to target. You can also do that. Okay, so first one we're going to do the check this thing, if our array of I may into 2 is equal to 0 or not, make this required 0 or not. If not, then we subtract those number which is, if we subtract that number in required number, then it should be greater than 0. So we, then we same logic but different condition. First condition, if you found that number, we just convert this required into 0. Second one, if you are not convert but we just become more close and close, so that's one. After that, I also make a check for here, if the required not is equal to 0, let's suppose we cannot convert that required into 0, then we also have to return the empty array, and at the end just sort that array and return that array. Why we going to sort? Because we know we have to return in a sorted order, -3, 1 and 2. So that's it from my side. Hope you like that. If any part you didn't understand, let me know in the comment section. I try my best. Okay, if you don't get the point, just take a pen and paper and try run by yourself. You will definitely get that. Why? Okay, so hope you like this video. Bye bye.